It is 6:36, and since we have a quorum, I will call the meeting to order. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
No, I think the only thing that came up is I think it was Greg was saying maybe we should add the that slideshow to the minutes. I don't know if that's possible.
I don't know how to do it.
Oh, okay.
I We have people here who might. Um, that that might know how to do it, might have an idea. I did hear from a concerned resident, uh, and I'll just go over that. I don't know that we need to put. Whoop, I'm. Let me. There we are. There. Okay. I did have a concerned resident was concerned that when they sent out the um, notice of the school board meeting, that they just had a QR code for people to um, scan, and so that they could get the information, and that there are a lot of people who don't have QR codes, who
Mhm.
don't use QR codes. Um, I'm one of them as well.
I don't even have a cell phone, so that would be
Yeah, I theoretically I could, but I don't.
So, so
Eh,
people, I guess I missed it. Was it a, just the link for the meeting?
I this was for the school budget.
Oh, was it just a link to get more information about
I
the
think it was
school
a
budget?
link to get more information,
Oh, okay,
but I
okay.
think it was sent. Um, and the other thing was that they sent um, a notice for people to vote at the for the to vote on the school budget, but it just went to the parents of students, and this person felt that it should go to all of the residents rather than just the students.
what does that have to do with your committee? I'm curious.
The person asked me to, as the head of the diversity, she said diversity and equity committee, to bring it up because it it is not bringing it to everyone. It's just bringing it to certain individuals. That was her concern.
But we don't have, this is Berry City, we don't have any purview over the school board or the school
No,
district.
no, but it's happening in Barre City. So,
Okay.
okay.
I would encourage that person to call and have a conversation with their school board representative. That's what I would do.
Okay.
Because they can actually change things and we can't.
Yeah, wouldn't that be more of like a open meetings law thing than an equity thing?
Not if it's just
It's not open meetings because,
No, if it's just a link to be able to get more information about the budget and it's just a way to like point your phone at it and then go directly to the website, they probably actually were trying to do it for accessibility, so you didn't have to type in an entire like big thing.
Right.
But for some people who don't use QR codes, that could be a problem. So
Well, it would be an accessibility problem, and that's
yeah.
belongs to the school, though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. So I just wanted to bring that up.
That reminds me, who's your accessibility person now? You're the ADA.
Yep.
I'm curious, who's your person? Nobody knows. Crickets. Yeah,
Good
okay.
question.
Just curious if it's because remember it was Nicholas. He said he'll do it because the person who was designated who never actually did it or came to a meeting actually left her job.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm supposing it's Nicholas. Has he ever contacted you about it?
No.
Oh, maybe Should I send him an email?
I do that.
Okay, so does someone wish to read the acknowledgement? If not, I can do that. Okay. We acknowledge that Barre City was developed on Samogi Abenaki land, which the Western Abenaki Nation never ceded, made treaty for, nor were they conquered. We aspire to create a space in our meetings that is inclusive, participatory, and equitable. We acknowledge we all come from different experiences and that our experiences may be affected by racism, sexism, classism, homophobia, ableism, and many other systems of oppression. We are here to address equity within the systems of our city in order to inform the City Council of our findings. We acknowledge that systemic inequities exist and do not debate the personal experiences of marginalized and underrepresented community members. With that in mind, it is important that we are thoughtful of the impact of our words on each other in this space. Okay. And are there any adjustments to the agenda? Hearing none, the first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the February 2026 meeting. Okay. Has everyone had a chance to look at those?
Yeah, I'll move to approve them.
Okay.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Opposed? Okay. Okay. Old business, committee reports and assignments. Aurora, we have two subcommittees. One is the Education Committee, which Greg is in charge of. He can tell you a little bit more about that, and Joellen's on that committee as well. The other is dealing with the ordinances, which is we are going to be dealing with, start dealing with during our regular meetings. So if you wish to be on one or the other of those committees, you can let us know. Go ahead, Joellen.
You actually can't call it a committee. You're going to have to call it a working group.
Subcommittee.
No, you have to call it a working group because
Working group.
if
Okay.
you call it anything else, you're going to have to do things like warn it,
Mhm.
blah, blah, blah. So you have to call it a working committee. Sorry.
Okay.
Working group. Sorry. Working group.
Okay. So, does someone want to make an adjustment to the agenda to change that from committee reports and assignments to working group reports and assignments?
You'll just get in big trouble.
Yeah, or create more headaches for ourselves.
Mhm.
You don't want to do that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I'll move to change the agenda to reflect that wording.
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none. All those in favor? Say aye.
I
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Okay. And I will make sure to change that in future for future agendas. Who are the current I know that I'm on the Greg. Who else is on your working group?
Rick and Joellen.
Okay. Okay. And so if Aurora wishes to be on that, then she can certainly be on that.
I use they them pronouns.
Okay. Okay.
Is this
So do you
is
wish
this
to
the
be on that?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
oh, gosh.
Okay. Well, I think you just get on it. You don't have to, okay. Update on items discussed in the last meeting. I think that was pretty much, we were looking at don't think was there, anyone have anything from the update from the last meeting?
Yeah, so as far as we're gonna Joellen is gonna talk about on behalf, I guess, of we need to have a discussion for the education working group about the use of the education money. I did reach out to Christy Clemens about that. And she said with the amount of money we have left, that would pay for about a 3-hour workshop.
Okay.
Right. Do you want me to add to it about the other half of the project? Yes, no?
Go ahead.
Yes.
So I finally got some response from Janet about moving along the economic side of things, and I believe hopefully by next week we get to order the flags. I think it's reduced to maybe 12. I thought we could get 20, but all we had money left for was 12. And I have a volunteer, Jim, who is going to help us with the photographs for the digital timeline, turning our timeline into digital with some interesting photographs, some contemporary, some photographs of things like the directory that showed 25 unions in the city in 2015, things like that. All different kinds of, hopefully, a lot of primary documents too, and maps. So you'll be able to, because just text would be so boring. So you just will be able to click on the image, and then underneath it will pop up the information of whatever the image is representing. So that should be really cool. This is Cass. She's awesome. She's doing a great job. Yeah, and I actually, we can't really finish the project until Cass gets paid. So I'm hoping that, that goes through. It's been like molasses, as you know. So I hope, because I couldn't find it, I know it's somewhere in my computer, but I'm hoping that you kept a copy of the narrative report of the grant. And that might be good to pass on to Aurora so she can see what the grant was about and what the curriculum was. And, because that could be something you continue using or pull from in some other ways.
Yeah, I haven't gotten any of that material, of the materials on that.
Okay. The only other person who was on the committee then would be Greg. Did you keep
Or Chris, I think.
Chris?
No,
That's right. Is he still on the committee?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, Chris might have it.
I think he does have it.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah, because I didn't want to be I wasn't on the committee at the time, and I didn't want to be
Hmm.
the person distributing, so I sent it to him.
Yeah.
I was following protocol.
So we have to vote on it to get her paid, to get everyone paid.
No, you don't have to do anything. I'm just updating you as to where we're
Okay.
at this point.
Yeah, we agreed to do that in an earlier meeting.
There's nothing that you don't need to do anything except enjoy it once it happens. But I would think that it would be a good idea, and the committee, the working group can talk about it. So can you all, to do some sort of formal presentation, maybe at the library once the digital is done, so that we could project the digital one on the screen and introduce people to using it, invite teachers, the history teachers if they're interested, things like that. That might be a good way to not just introduce the tool and allow people to see that it's right on our website, right? It'll be on our website, but also to kind of, I mean, this is up to you because you're deciding what to do from now on, sort of with whatever resources we have. So you might want to do a little update as to the reformed committee and what's going on. And obviously, it's not going to be for a while because it'll take a while for this project to be completed. Sometimes in the summer, maybe some kind of celebration of it, if it's done.
Well, Joellen, I was thinking it would be really neat if we could do, if it was done by the end of July and we could do
Mhm.
something in conjunction with the Heritage Festival.
That'd be great.
That's an excellent idea.
Yeah,
That would be really great.
yeah. What do you
If it's ready.
What is it? The end of July?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's July, maybe the 24th and 25th.
Okay. I'll put in. I'll make myself a note and see what's up. I mean, I don't do that part of it, but it's her job. So as soon as she gets all the images, she'll put it together.
Cool.
Okay. Anything else on that?
No, not that I can think of, unless anyone has a question. Aurora, I think if I get the next meeting notice, I think I can send you my version of the timeline so you can see what it says. Obviously, it won't be fancy, it'll just be the text.
Totally. Yeah. That sounds great.
Mhm.
I mean, it's awful to come in on something and not know what anybody's talking about. So, yeah.
Okay. And if that's it for that, the language access policy update. I believe you were going to, Rick, were you reaching out to people on that?
Yes, yeah, I have been reaching out to people. Let me just take a look at my notes from last month. I've reached out to a few different people. Somebody I know who works with some of our local organizations, like Turning Point and the homeless shelters. I didn't get a response from them. I spoke with Dan from uh, People's Health and Wellness, who had some interesting insights. His in his experience and their experience at People's Health and Wellness, I think they said that their most used languages were Spanish and I forget what the other one was, but uh, sorry, I unfortunately I didn't pull the information up in front of me at the moment. Let's see. Yeah, I can share it with you later. Anyway, so yeah.
Okay.
And then I also reached out to the folks at the public safety building. I got an email back recently from one of the people at the fire station. I have yet to get back in touch with them about using the same service that they use there for live translation.
Mm-hmm.
And I reached out to the school district and I never heard back from them. But I also reached out to Nicholas and Cheryl at City Hall. And Nicholas said that he has personally never encountered a person seeking assistance in another language. But back in 2022, they were doing the ARPA survey, and he asked the BUSD for most common foreign languages spoken at home. And they said that the largest population between all three schools are, and this was mind you in 2022, 6 Bosnian families, 5 Russian families, 3 Spanish families, and 2 Ukrainian families. And then Cheryl said that in the 9+ years she's worked with the city, they have had less than 10 encounters with non-English speaking community members. The families had translators with them. They were seeking new birth certificates for their newborns. And occasionally they've had deaf community members, but communicated with written words. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
update from City Hall. And I never heard back from the BUSD.
Okay.
Oh, too bad. Because the English as the second language teacher would know what languages are spoken there. And
Yeah, and I don't remember. I'll have to follow up again, and maybe I can just ask for whoever that teacher is and get in touch with them.
Mhm.
Or I think I might have sent it to the director of curriculum. I can't remember who I sent it to, but I sent it off and just
right.
never heard anything back. So I can follow up.
Also, it's not just people don't necessarily ask to have things translated. They might feel inhibited in some way. So these are just the people
Mhm.
who actually have identified themselves as needing translators.
I wonder if it might be helpful to, so one thought came up is, maybe there's a reaction of like, well, is this to kind of track like what people are different in our community, and then like be able to use that information in a nefarious or not so great way. So maybe the way to approach asking for that information is by saying like, hey, we're looking for this information so that we can have like critical documents translated into the most needed languages. So like, if
Mhm.
somebody needs to go to City Hall for a particular document, then oh, here's the Bosnian version for you,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and it sounds like if they're in City Hall and they're asking for birth certificates, that would be a good thing to, have some translation available
Mhm.
so that people in different who speak different languages could understand how to go about that process to get the birth certificate. Because it sounds like that's what they've in the past come in for. So,
Mm-hmm.
The court
So,
system also needs translators, so there might be some statistical data there about what
mm,
residents of Barry City who came to court needed
Mm-hmm.
a
mm,
translator.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can certainly find that out.
There's
and of
also
course,
because I had a student once that was Chinese and needed translation for her parents. There is a nonprofit organization in central Vermont that provides translators, and they may also have, I don't remember what the organization was called, um, but they provide translators for schools, for courts, for whatever. I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of the org.
okay. And of course, it may be too that most people getting birth certificates in Barrie, um, probably most of the people would also be able to get that birth certificate in Berlin because I'm assuming that most of them were born there and not in Barrie.
Well,
It follows your
But
residence, not the hospital.
I, I, I think both. I think it actually is put in. It would be in both.
Well, yeah, they'd say where they were born, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, they have it submitted both in your town of residence and where you were born.
but I also think that there are probably some kids who are born at home, so it
That's
might just be
probably true.
dairy.
Right.
So,
Okay. Anything else on
Yeah, I think
that?
that's
Okay.
about it this time around.
Okay. And so, any other old business? Moving on to new business, we're looking at the equity tool assessment of ordinances, chapters 1 and 2. Um, so, most of chapter 1 is just looking at terms and so forth. So, I didn't really see that much that would be in there. Um, the one thing I have here listed is news media with their definition of what news media is, which does not include online, which I found interesting. And as far as chapter 2 dealing with administration, Did anyone get a chance to go through any?
Are
Any
Well,
you
other?
talking about the assessment tool?
I'm talking about the. We're looking at the ordinances in,
Oh,
and the suggestion was made was put them through the equity assessment tool. I
so
think it's a
which ordinance are you working on?
chapters 1 and 2. So it's the chapter 2 is administration.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I got confused.
Um,
Yeah,
and
I'm sorry. I didn't really get a chance to
okay,
get a deep look at these chapters this time around this month.
okay. Why don't we
I
table that for the next month? Do we
yeah,
want to add? I think there isn't all that much in those, so we may want to add chapter 3 to that,
I noticed you took
which
yeah, we
is
can.
CDs out. What did you do with all the CDs?
let's see, chapter 3 is animals and fowl. Chapter 1 is general provisions. Chapter 4 is buildings and building construction. And then chapter 5 is electricity. So do you want to table what we have for this month and then move on to how far do you want to get into it for the next meeting?
Hmm,
I've got
yeah.
them up. Chapter 3 is 11 pages. Chapter 4,
So yeah, I'm wondering if
go ahead.
I don't know what's um animal quarantine, animal control, owners, keepers, responsibilities. I mean, I guess I don't know if I wonder if maybe for the nature of the work of applying the equity tool to these ordinances, maybe is it worth like spending time to get community input from people who are kind of um, close to these subjects of these chapters? Does that make sense?
I'm understanding what you're saying. Do we have, does the city council deal with people who are um, in terms of these chapters, in terms of the ordinances? Or are there specific ones that they deal with more often than others?
um, I mean, I don't think that the city council, I mean, yes, these are our ordinances, but I think for the most part, the city council like passes the ordinances and then it's really the accountability part is on a lot of other, you know,
Agencies.
yes, like, the police department, the fire department,
Hmm.
so I don't think that the city council would necessarily be the body to, I mean, you could ask the city council if you wanted to make a change to the ordinance, but I don't think that the city council would
Sure.
necessarily be the one to be enforcing the ordinance per se. Oh, Joellen has a question.
Um,
Yeah.
okay, so what you're trying to do is go from the beginning of the ordinances and go through them and apply the tool to it. Is that what the attempt is? So what we originally had thought about was just working on those ordinances that were being actually looked at by the city council for changes. Because it's
Hmm.
when the ordinances are changing that you can get an opportunity to examine them with the tool. I don't know if there are any that are being looked at now for changes. At the time, it was the police department, and I think we did one once for the, believe it or not, the street sweeping project, something
Hmm.
like that. So it has been used, but it's best to be used in an active way.
Hmm.
It's a little it would be difficult, let me put it this way. If you went to the city council with that tool and you looked at let's just take the first ordinance, for example, and you said, well, wait a second, did you do this? did you do this? Because it's all questions about how did you get to this ordinance, right? Did you poll the community? What data did you use? Look at the
Mhm.
actual tool itself and you'll see what I mean. They're just basic questions that you want to know whether or not they were answered. It doesn't mean they have to be answered, but it's good to know if there is no answer also.
Right.
So,
And a lot of them are dealing with COVID-19 as well, which I don't think we really need to.
well, who knows what next what next issue is going to come up. But so
Mhm.
if you're gonna examine them the way that you're thinking, it would be really difficult if you came up with something that was critical in terms of, in your estimation, as to be looked at and changed by the council. You would then have to go to council and request that they make that change or request that they look at that
Mhm.
ordinance. I have to say I have a little bit of experience with this council, and that I really cannot imagine that they would want to change anything that was coming from this committee, no offense, unless it was something they wanted to do anyway. So that's why the strategy to look at the ones that they're doing anyway actually works better. You can go through them and do this, but I have a feeling that it would be, if you really did want to make changes, then that would be a slog, and you would need the political support for that.
I don't think we have any particular ordinances on the agenda, or coming up on the agenda, but I do know that, just thinking about, we talked about um, there's an ordinance that is going to be in effect starting next week, I think it's, or I can't remember. I wrote it in my notes. Soon, that we passed late last year, and it has to go through like a 30, 60, 90, I can't remember, date waiting period. And so that's going to be going into effect. That might be for the nuisance properties, I think. That might
That
be
would
the
be
That sounds
great.
great.
That would be a great one to look at now, and ditch the other ones and look at the one they're actually working on. Even if it's a little behind, it
yeah.
would still be a great exercise for you to get used to using it, and
Yeah.
also to remind the city that, hey, you know what? This tool was adopted by you folks. You really should be using it.
Well,
Mhm.
yes, I agree, because I don't think that that ordinance before we passed it went through any kind of equity assessment tool.
Right.
And I also will tell you that we had a community member come in, and I think I have the paper here. She was concerned about electric bicycles, and especially electric bicycles being ridden on sidewalks, because she's almost been hit by them.
Mhm.
And she
Mhm.
gave us this packet about electric bike laws for the state of Vermont. And so things like that, it's not that the city council is necessarily taking up, but it's already been brought to our attention. And it
Right.
might be the kind of thing that we could help, um, as a committee, look at what is the ordinance, there is a law. Are we enforcing that law? Do we have any other policies or ordinances that talk about, bicycles on sidewalks, for instance? And does it specify what, if it does allow for bicycles on sidewalks, is it all, like, should it be changed to not allow electric bikes on sidewalks? So anyway, I tell you all of that because she came into the council and shared information and was upset that these bicycles are very dangerous, especially when they're being ridden on the sidewalk. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
because those can go up to,
some of
uh,
them,
30
some of
miles
them
an
can
hour.
go
Yeah.
yeah, some of them.
like 40 miles an hour, maybe.
It depends on the kind that it is, because there's
Mhm.
different levels. And I think that's probably, I haven't read through this electric bike laws yet, but she gave us this packet, and um
There is a bike ordinance, and it does allow bikes on the sidewalk
right, but that's the sort of thing, maybe it
on
should
Main
be
Street.
reevaluated,
Right.
because electric bikes maybe shouldn't
Self-propelled
be.
bikes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I bring that up because that might be an interesting topic that is not, it's not pressing like the council, but we've heard from actually multiple people about the electric bike, and the bikes on sidewalks.
Getting
And
back
that
to
may
the
also get into ADA questions too. because
Uh-huh.
you want to be careful that
Right.
if you're not allowing, if you make the ordinance such that it says no electric bikes, that the definition doesn't also lead to electric wheelchairs
Right.
being not allowed. I
Yeah.
I think it would be fairly easy to do, but
Getting
go
back to
ahead, Joella.
using the tool though, you can't use it in a vacuum either. Um, I don't, Sonia, who was responsible for working on that ordinance that you just talked about?
The public nuisance ordinance?
Yeah.
Um, I think we modeled it after another community's public nuisance ordinance, and then, it went to our attorney and the city attorney, and then came back to us for first reading, and then, there were some
But I mean,
revision.
who was the lead person? Like, was it Nicholas who was really okay? So, whenever you use that tool, you have to actually work with the person in the city who's doing it. So you would have to actually work with Nicholas, send the document back to him. Did you answer this question? Do you answer that question?
Hmm.
I can pretty much guarantee you he has no interest in that.
No, I don't think it happened.
Well, it wouldn't even if you sent it to him. So what we did in the past was to work directly with the um, whatever agency was doing the like I worked directly with the police department and with the police committee, that kind of thing. But there is no committee for this, right? It was just Nicholas that was. I suppose the housing guy. Maybe you could
I
work with.
think, I'm guessing it was a recommendation I think it was based on trouble that people are having with nuisance properties in the sense of people selling drugs out of their home and becoming very problematic in neighborhoods. I think that was the
That's
catalyst.
But that's not a nuisance. That's a different kind of issue. Nuisance property is like someone that doesn't clean up their yard, or there's a lot of trash around, or there's empty
Ye-
car. You know.
Nope, this is
Mhm.
like it's like if the police are called there multiple times and you can get a violation. That's the kind of thing.
And the other thing, of course, is with fentanyl. Um, if you have fentanyl on your property, it's most drugs before fentanyl you actually had to ingest, but fentanyl can be absorbed through the skin. And so if you have a drug dealer who's selling fentanyl, that becomes a nuisance property because if you're on the property, um, it can actually lead to a drug overdose.
I don't think the ordinance has anything specific about types of
Okay.
it's we can read it. I think it's going
Mhm.
to be enacted, I think later this month, but
Where is it located? Is it on the city's website somewhere?
yeah, it's under ordinances, it's chapter 26. It's the very last one.
Okay.
Take a
Yeah,
look.
I did take a look at that ordinance actually. And it's kind of interesting. Like I had some thoughts about like the way it talks about quasi judicial hearings to resolve nuisance property complaints. Um, so here's some of my thoughts. Like how often like it'd be interesting to ask someone how often does a public nuisance property designation lead to someone losing their housing? Like, that's a possible angle that we can think about in terms of the equity, like the application of this towards people. How much does the process of going through the nuisance property policy, like how much does that process cost the city? And how can the process utilize resources in a more efficient and cost-effective manner? Um, Also, like there's a hearing clause that talks about like, okay, if there's, more than at least three complaints against a particular property, then it goes to a hearing. If trying to read my notes really quickly here. This could be an opportunity to take it to like community justice, which might be a more efficient and effective way of resolving public, nuisance properties. That's an opportunity to create community and solve problems rather than just kind of evicting them.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah,
and,
and
and I,
I was gonna say, I don't think, first of all, it hasn't gone into effect yet.
Yeah.
So I don't think we have any data because it hasn't been used. It's not in effect yet. Um, so some of your questions are yet to be determined. And
Mm.
then, but I think that those are good questions because if it is being used in a way that is not necessarily productive and community building, then maybe it needs to be changed and tweaked. And maybe that's something that we as a committee could look at and say, how could this be help with people who need more support, I do remember specifically when we were having conversations about city council that we didn't want to necessarily put tenants who are renting from a landlord, and the landlord is being
right.
the nuisance part of the property. And we also didn't want to put a landlord in a position where they're being targeted when it's the tenants that are part of the problem. We wanted to try to have some balance because sometimes you've rented your property and you don't, people might not be the people that they said they were. And
Yeah.
then in the same way, a landlord may not be taking care of the property and maintaining it in the way that they should, or maybe they're just absent and not ever around, and the tenants are allowed to just do whatever they want. And so we wanted to have a little bit of balance there to be able to, I think that's sort of what the quasi judicial thing was. So we could just have a conversation with people instead of it being always very punitive. So,
Hmm.
but we could read it and look at it if that would be um, something that you all wanted to do. I'd be
And
Yeah.
interested.
it is part of our charge to look at to review the ordinances. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
okay. Do we want to look at ordinance 26 then for uh, next, for our next meeting? I do see too that probably part of the reason to go through a quasi judicial process is um, if it has to, if you have three complaints, I could certainly see if there's a person that people don't like in the community, that people become a nuisance by using the nuisance ordinance against them. Um,
Well,
so,
that was definitely a concern and definitely was raised. And I also there's a part in there that because if the police are called to a property a certain number of times, if it's 3 times, I think, but then there's this carve out for people who are in situations of domestic violence, because we don't want, obviously we don't want people to not call the police when there's
mhm,
serious situations, and we want people
right.
to be safe. So.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I'd be happy to read through this.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think we should look at it.
Okay. So I think for our next meeting, all of us will look look at it, and I mean, we don't, and basically what we're looking at is how do we see it? Obviously there are some things that we can't look at through the equity tool, but we can look at it and see um, how we think it would affect individuals by through using the pertinent parts of the equity tool. Obviously, we don't know what went into proposing it, but we can look at what effect it might have on people.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The way that we've done it in the past was to go through the questions and actually explain why it's important to answer that question.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a two-way street kind of tool. So when you work with the agency or the department or the person who's in charge of it, they get to kind of respond to that. So for example, if the question is, did you poll the community to find out if there were any people who, let's say it was an ordinance about sidewalks. Did you poll the community to see if there was anyone who didn't have a sidewalk, such as me?
Mhm.
um, uh, if that ordinance had to do with sidewalks, right? So you could say in that answer, if you don't have the answer from the person, you can say, this is a question that would really be important to find out, or something like that. Or if there's data that you can find that they didn't find, then you could add the data, which is how we did it in the past.
Okay.
I also want to interject something because I'm not sure we're talking about a lot of things, and I also want to make sure Aurora knows that you can find the charter ordinances all on the city website, and the equity assessment tool is under the JEDIB committee page. So if you're looking for that information because you want to understand, that's where you'll find it. If you have questions, you can email any one of us, but thought I'd throw that
Including
out.
me. That me too.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Some
And
of
I
us-
did see our emails. If you click on our name, you get our email.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, folks. Good night. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. And let's move on to the next. Any other discussions? Discussion of items for future meetings? Is there anything that anyone would like to add to future meetings?
I think by next meeting, I think we would like to discuss the how we want to use Christie to best develop our own Let's Talk type program.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Obviously we can't do it just like she did it, but she's the one with wealth of information, and she can help us build a framework on how we'd like it to look.
Okay. Anything else?
Will we be talking about chapter 26 at the next meeting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like if there's any other thoughts and new thoughts and ideas, maybe we can talk about them in within working groups, like as far as coming up with new ideas of um, things to work on.
Sure. And I'm keeping the language access policy update as part of old business for
Okay.
I'm keeping that. Basically those three items on old business I think we'll continue to keep on there.
Yep.
Okay. And our only visitor just left, so we don't have any visitors or public comment. And did anyone want to share anything or anything you wanted to talk about before we adjourn? Next meeting date, by the way, I have as being May 14th at 6:30.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Oh, and then one last little thing. So I did manage to review all the material about open meetings law. Like there was a page with a lengthy, like an hour long video, I think, that explained it. I feel like I'm gonna have to watch it at least one more time to like really let it sink in. It's pretty complex, I think. But yeah, it definitely helped me understand a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it you just started absorbing like a sponge, so.
And I take it everyone got a copy of Nicholas's notice about committee renewals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to fill mine out soon.
If you, and I think if you are already a standing committee member and you want to be reappointed, you don't have to, the way that the policy works, you don't have to reapply. You can reapply. Let me say that. You can reapply, but you don't have to come in for an interview if the chair writes a letter of recommendation to have you reappointed. So just contact William and hopefully he'll write you a letter and you can be reappointed and no interview and you're good to go.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm
I'll
glad
have to write one for myself, I think.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, I'm glad I'm on William's good side.
Oh, I think, Rick, I think you've been an excellent addition to the committee. So,
Thank you.
okay. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Aye.
There. It is done. I hope that people didn't hear you say that.
Is it done?
It's done.
No, what Christopher said. Look. Luis Robert Jr. hit a home run. The Mets game is the